I'm Thomas, and where's James? Yeah, James had a baby. What an idiot, am I right?
Huracan, Murcielago, Urus, Gallardo. Next on the list of Lamborghini names whose pronunciation will be butchered for the next few decades is this: the new Revuelto. It means scrambled. Which, incidentally, is exactly what happened to our brains when we found out that the newest Lamborghini somehow is again going to have a naturally aspirated V12, making this the latest and perhaps final successor in a long line of cars that were born to give the middle finger to Ferrari. Lambo has always done it their way: big, loud, and dangerous. And at first glance, the Revuelto is here to do that yet again, except this time, the newest flagship is an absolute tech fest. What appears to be a simple V12 monster is actually a rolling computer lab with cutting-edge torque vectoring, regenerative braking, rear-wheel steering, and active aerodynamics. So, with a 0 to 60 time just south of 2.5 seconds and a price tag north of $600,000 US, let's see what Lambo's got in store this time. Because, to purists, this might be a step in the wrong direction.
Because this is a plug-in hybrid, and some of you out there may still not be convinced that EV powertrains have any place in the hallowed halls of supercar performance. In fact, James and I have said ourselves that plugs are in fact for butts. Actually, now that he's not here, I can tell you that that was completely his idea, and I had nothing to do with it. But how do I put it in a way that explains it well? Actually, you know what? This is it. It's not that the electricity is assisting, it's what the electricity is assisting. Because if it's assisting a 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 with a 9,500 RPM redline, acceleration is like being hit with a Volvo. Because that V12 on its own makes 812 horsepower, but you add in 3 electric motors, and you get 1,001 horsepower. It's properly freaking fast. Oh my good God. See, I feel like 1,001 horsepower, that number, or just over 1,000 horsepower, is Lambo's way of saying, yeah, we can do it, so what? Just shut up and enjoy the car. Oh, the way that the EV fills in the gaps. Just absolutely ridiculous. Oh my Lord, that is shocking.
Pun intended, because an 814 horsepower V12 alone would likely make this car near as fast or faster than the outgoing Aventador. But when you add in a 3.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack nestled between the passengers and 3 electric motors, one attached to the transmission and 2 up front on each wheel, not only do you get the benefit of about 8 kilometers of silent plug-in EV range, you also get the added benefit of feeling like you might be able to break the sound barrier.
Oh my God, the speed is just unending. of a naturally aspirated V12. That scream or that bark that the Aventador did, especially when you hear it go by on the outside. It's still a Lamborghini V12, so I am not gonna nitpick. You might remember from when we drove the Countach, we talked about how after the Miura, all V12 mid-engine Lamborghinis had the engine here and the transmission here for better weight distribution. But that means they actually had to drive the rear wheels with a drive shaft from here all the way to the back. But it did make it easier for all-wheel drive because the transmission was already at the front. With the Revuelto, things are different. Since we have 2 electric motors up front that can power the front wheels, this engine has been turned 180 degrees, and there is a brand new bespoke 8-speed DCT out back. And with that new transmission, the shifts are lightning quick. Than the Aventador was. And I will say I kind of missed the craziness of the shifts in the Aventador, but at least in Corsa mode, it gives you a bit of a kick anyway. The weight distribution is a little bit biased over the rear, and there's a lot of torque vectoring going on. But you know what? I'm not really feeling it. The car feels organically rear-wheel drive. Feels very natural. Right now I'm driving in Corsa mode, which is meant for the track, but in sport, it'll let you kick the rear out a little bit more. You can feel the mass under brakes, no question. There's more than the Aventador. This is heavier. But as for directional changes in the middle of the corner, it's just brilliant. And the steering itself doesn't have a lot of feel, but it is absolutely razor sharp. It is communicating to me that the car understeers a little bit in the tight stuff. Those specialty Bridgestones in the front are doing everything they possibly can to keep that front stuck. So composed through the high-speed corners. There we go, a little bit of mid-engine action happening now. On the exit there. Nice 4-wheel drift on entry if you trail the brake in, which is exactly what you want. It is very much an exciting car to drive in the corners. And I do love that they've let the car move around on its suspension. I don't feel like I'm being beaten to death by racetrack suspension. I'm feeling the car heave into the corner as the nose dives in. I can feel the rear lighten and that engine behind me start to push the rear around. It's beautiful, very satisfying. Up on the curb, 4-wheel slide to the exit, wait for it to lay the power down, get those rears hooked up, and off you go. This is a very good V12 Lamborghini. Maybe too good. Maybe it's too easy. So that was fast. Very, very, very fast. And obviously I haven't had a chance to drive this on the road and experience it in an everyday livability setting, but I will say, compared to the Aventador, it's much easier to just get in and go. down to the transmission, the EV assistance, obviously, it just kind of rolls away smoothly while the Aventador would go bup, 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 bup. Also, getting in and out is a lot easier because the carbon monocoque has been thinned on this bit right here, so you can just step in very simply, which is nice. But this is a big orange Lamborghini, so we need to talk about styling because half of what makes Lamborghini Lamborghini is how they look. And I will say that compared to the Aventador SVJ, this looks downright tame. Because it is the base. Base is a weird word, but it's a Lamborghini V12. Give it time. It'll be in production for 57 years, and by the time we get to the SVJ, it too will have horns and blades and pieces of broken glass sticking out of it. But right now, as it sits, I think it is actually quite a handsome car, and just crazy enough to be a Lamborghini. We've got the characteristic Y headlight right here. There's elements of Diablo, Murcielago, and all the other V12 Lambos in the design itself. And I love this line that runs from the front, up the side, all the way up to this rear haunch, and then connects to the splitter where the two huge top-mounted exhausts are sitting. And I love that you can see the valve covers without any glass over top of them. I think that's a brilliant touch. It's almost like it's this cavern of Lamborghini V12. But compared to the Aventador, especially on the inside, things have gotten softer. Let's take a look. Okay, so compared to the Aventador, it's actually comfortable in here. I've got headroom, I've got knee room, I've got arm room. That's very not Lamborghini of them, actually, because Countach, for example, you sat on the seat bolsters, you had absolutely no room for your legs, the pedals were in a different county, and your head was crammed into the headliner like this, even at a person who is strongly under 6 feet. This one, though, is nothing like that at all. There's way more headroom than the Aventador. I fit with a helmet, comfortably, and the seats are actually quite nice. So, depending on who you ask, that might be a bad thing, because some people like their Lambos a little bit hot, loud, and dangerous. This one is completely livable. You could drive it every single day and it would just feel, well, like an Audi, I guess. But that's not the point. It is still very much Lamborghini in here. Everything is stitched and crazy and angular, and this design here is meant to evoke an alien form, right? But probably the craziest thing about this interior is the addition of this little screen over here for my passenger, but just like a Ferrari, but I can choose what I want on that screen. I can also choose what I want on my screen. And the way that I do that is by grabbing the widget with 2 fingers from the center screen and flicking it over, like this. Flick. Tire pressure monitoring is being monitored by my passengers, and my engine status, I've got my eye on that. Oh, you know what? I think they need to know how many G's we just hit around that corner, so I'm gonna send them that one. There it is. I also want to know the G's, so I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it here. I can't tell if that is the tackiest thing put in a car ever or the coolest, but I've been having a lot of fun playing with it, I will say. New gauge cluster. It's sharper, it's nicer, it's brighter, and it still has fun, crazy animations. New steering wheel. I can adjust city mode, strata mode, Corsa mode with these little dials here. I can adjust my front nose lift function, which is always crucial in a Lamborghini. And I can adjust my dampers, hard and soft, and I can adjust my wing. So if I want it to be automatically going up and down with the speed, I can. If I want it to be up all the time or down all the time for maximum top speed, I can. And I can adjust the EV only mode. Not very much EV range, couple of kilometers. It's really not meant to be driven in EV only mode. It's probably just enough to get you out of your garage and around the corner before the engine's gonna kick in if you haven't fully charged the battery. It's there to assist what's sitting behind me. And this bears repeating, because this is a brand new car, brand new, from the ground up, and somehow, sitting behind me, is a naturally aspirated V12. How? How has this happened? How have they done it? How many Audis did they need to sacrifice to the EV gods to make their average fleet fuel economy such that they can have a 9,500 RPM V12 in a brand new car? You know what? I don't even want to answer that question. I'm just happy that it exists. This is a very, very cool car. It's a proper V12 Lamborghini. And, you know, it might be missing a few things compared to the Aventador, but this is a pretty serious step in the right direction. This shows us, once again, that hybrids can be used for good, not evil. Welcome to the Revuelto.
The last Aventador we drove, the Ultimate, we compared to heavy metal music, a supercar that you had to be in the mood for or you got a headache. The Revuelto, in this first form with the help of the DCT and the more spacious intuitive cabin, is just a bit easier. And that's good, because the wealthy people who'd be buying this have had it tough the last few years. What's that? They haven't? It got easier? No. Okay, oh shit, okay, Anyway, it took a minute, but now an off-the-shelf base V12 Lambo is punching above Bugatti Veyron numbers, something that a decade ago gave it legendary mythical status. Speaking of status, what is an orange V12 Lamborghini the size of an SR71 revving outside a fancy restaurant if not a status symbol? The Revuelto still is that in spades, and despite its weight gain, it's now quicker, sharper, and more confidence-inspiring than a Lamborghini flagship has ever been. It isn't without competition in the supercar world though, and so we think a road test is on the cards at the soonest opportunity. But for now, thanks for watching.